So let's then take a look at the next situation, which would be draw your room. This is usually have students go home and measure their room for the next week when they come into class. And what I like for them to do is to draw a rough freehand drawing of what their room looks like. So let me see what this final drawing will look like here, and see if I can set it up so that it works. This room will be based on my room, my studio at home that I use. I'm just using one bedroom for a studio. And I think for the sake of this, I'll just use the back of one of these sheets of paper here and see if this works. Okay, what I'm doing here is drawing what my room looks like. And I have the students just draw a rough plan. It's not to scale. It's just a rough plan, like maybe like this. This is the back wall. Here's the side walls. And my room is, I'm lying just a little. It's actually 11 feet, but I say it's 12 feet wide because it works out a little better in perspective. And I'm going to say it's 16 feet deep. So coming this way, it's actually only 15, but I'm making it 1 foot bigger in each dimension because I like that. Okay? So what I want here is to show this room as initially a box with one side missing, because the room is only 16 feet deep. But I'm going to, when I shoot this, I'm going to be viewing it from 20 feet away. That means I'm going to rip one wall out of my room and shoot from outside the room. But that's okay. It looks good. So what I'm going to do here is I note that there's a window 1 foot away and 4.5 feet across, like this. So let's come up here and show that wall, that back wall, like this. Here's the wall, and here's the window 1 foot away, 4.5 feet wide, and 4 feet high. Now, it's not in scale. It doesn't look exactly like what I described, but that's okay. So here then is 1 foot, and the window is 4.5 feet across, 4.5 feet. Then, so the height of the window is 4 feet, and it's 1.5 feet from the top of the room, and it's 2.5 feet from the bottom. Okay, 2.5 feet, 1.5 makes 4, and 4. So we have an 8-foot ceiling here. The room is 8 feet tall, okay? 8 feet. Now, that's all I need in the plan. I only needed it to plan that window. I don't need to draw these side walls at all. But I have right here a bookcase that is 3 feet by 1.5 feet. 3 feet times 1.5 times 7 feet tall. All right, 2 feet away from this back wall, I have another bookcase that's 6 feet. And again, you see it's not in scale. It doesn't look right, but that's okay. I'll try to make it look a little better here. This is 2 feet away from the back wall, 2 feet. Then the width of it is 6 feet here. And the depth this way is, again, 1.5. And then it's 7 feet tall, just like this one, sort of, okay? Now here is a flat file, 3 by 3 by 8 feet, and it's made out of 5 hollow core doors bolted together with plywood ends. So it's made out of doors, hollow core doors, 3 feet times 3 feet times 7 feet, all right? Over here then, and there's a little drape here, kind of a curtain hanging. So I have to allow for that by putting a bookcase an unknown distance. I put a question mark here. I don't know how far that is away, but I know that it's 8 feet this direction. This bookcase is 8 feet in this direction, and it's, again, 1.5 feet times 7 feet tall. Then there is a drawing table here. Let's say 3 by 4 feet. It's actually 35 by 45 inches, but let's say 3 feet times 4 feet. It's 3 feet. It's 3 inches shorter than 4 feet, and 1 inch short of 3 feet. That's okay. It's close enough. Now I'm going to make a chair here 20 inches wide. The seat is 18 inches up to the seat. I don't know the width of the. I'm sorry, I know the width, but I don't know the depth of the chair. That's okay. Here's a wastebasket 20 inches wide. On the floor is a carpet. Comes across like this. I don't really know its dimension. I'm not too concerned about it. There's a little metal cabinet in here that's 20 times 20 times 30 inches. These are inches high. All right, what am I missing? Oh yeah, there's a taboret here. Oh, and on the floor there is a 4 by 8 plywood, 4 times 8 feet. That is to keep this chair rolls around, to keep that chair from eating up the rug when it rolls around. So 4 by 8 plywood. And then alongside of it here is a taboret that is, an artist's side table. It's 3 and 1/2 feet times 1 and 1/2 feet times 1 foot tall. So that's a little taboret there. So that's what I'm going to draw here. So what I'll start with, I know that the back wall, oh, by the way, the scale, when we actually do this, will be 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. So let's kind of read the instructions here, see what it says. It says, on horizontal marker paper and 1-point perspective, draw your room. The scale is 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. The eye level is 5 feet, and the distance from the back wall is 20 feet. The floor line at the back wall is the ground line. The back wall is the picture plane. So remember when we did the previous drawing, the front wall of that 10-foot cubic room, that front wall was the picture plane. But in this case, the back wall is the picture plane. The distance from the back wall is 20 feet. The floor line at the back wall is the ground line. The back wall is the picture plane, so all measurements in scale must be made at the back wall and projected forward of the ground line by using the measuring point or vanishing point. As with most interior views, it will be a wide-angle perspective and you will experience distortion at the edges. All right, let me just show just a little sketch here to give a little bit of what we're doing here. If you'll remember our first room, when we drew the 10-foot cubic room, we drew the front wall like this, and then we drew an eye level, and then we picked an arbitrary vanishing point. We came down here and got a station point. Then we located the measuring point here. And what we did is we projected backwards. See, the front wall is the picture plane. So when we drew that room, we were projecting backward from the picture plane by drawing toward this measuring point. We measured that 10 feet of depth and drew the room like this, okay? Now, what we're doing here is we're going to project, this is projecting back from the picture plane. What we're going to do on this one, the back wall will be the picture plane. We'll have an eye level about right here. And then we're going to project forward of the picture plane by doing this. We're going to locate a station point and come up here and find the measuring point. Now, will you say this is 5 feet? I want to measure 5 feet forward. I draw from coming forward like this. So now what I've done is I've measured 5 feet forward. So using this way, we were measuring back from the picture plane. In this case, we're measuring forward from the picture plane. So, okay. So in the first instance, we were measuring back from the picture plane. This time we're measuring forward from the picture plane. Okay, I say the room is 1/2 inch scale, and it's 12 inches wide. 12 feet wide and 8 feet tall, but I'm using 1/2 inch scale. So what I think I'll start with is I'll draw this back wall, but I've got to consider some things here. most of the interesting stuff in the room is either on one side or the other, or maybe equally on each side. I'm saying I like to think my room is all interesting. So I'm going to put the vanishing point in the middle, and I'll put the room fairly centered on the paper. So and I want to keep it up a little bit high on the paper. The reason why I'm doing that is because most of the interesting stuff in the room is not on the ceiling, it's probably on the floor. So what I'll do is start like this. I'm going to say a 12-foot wide room is actually at this scale only 6 inches. So here we have, using 6 inches, here's the 12-foot width of my room, and then the walls are 8 feet tall. So what I'm going to do is take a vertical up like this and like this, and I'm now going to locate the 8-foot height. Ooh, I didn't make it tall enough. Let's go up 8 feet here, and then I'll just put the scale here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's the 8 feet height. Let's carry this up to the 8 feet also. And then let's carry that back wall. The complete back wall now is 8 feet by 12 feet at half-inch scale. We call for an eye level. Now, in the last one, the eye level was 5.5 feet. On this one, the eye level is only 5 feet. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm using a 5-foot eye level. I'll draw it all the way across the paper from edge to edge. Okay? There's the eye level. Now, here's the deal. If you're drawing your room, and if this side has the most interesting things in it, I would move the vanishing point more to the left so that you have you're not raking the wall so much. You're seeing into the wall a little more. But like I said, my room is all interesting, so I'm going to put the vanishing point close to the middle. And drawing from that vanishing point through these corners here, I'm drawing the walls coming forward. Now, my room is 16 feet deep. I know from drawing this before that I can't get the entire thing on the paper. If your room is only 10 foot deep, it's possible to get that front wall in, but I can't do it. 16 feet is too far. So the room will just run off like this. So I'm projecting forward of the ground line. The ground line is this line here at the bottom here. Or I'm projecting forward to the picture plane. You could say it that way. Okay, the easy things to do. I know that the window on that back wall is 1 foot from this side, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4.5 feet across. It's 1.5 feet from the top. See, I'm using half-inch scale. There's the top. And then it's 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 feet down to here, then 2.5 feet down to the bottom. So now I can draw that window. Just for now, I'll just draw it as, well, let's go ahead and draw it. Then here's the 1.5 feet from the top, and then down to here. Now, when I first moved into this house, this was a little boy's room. So what I have here is a curtain with choo-choo trains on it. So this is just you know, the little extra curtain on top here, and I'm just going to just indicate that crudely for now. Then I have the side curtains coming down like this, and then like this. And I live on a hill, so out there I can see my street going downhill like that. And I can see the Goodman's house across the street. There's the window, there's the front door, and there's their car parked on the street. The deal is that the window does have some frames in it, and as you know, by making diagonals from corner to corner, you can find the middle. Then through there, maybe a window frame like that. It'd be nice if it was actually vertical, though. Then let's just arbitrarily just sketch these in for now. All right, window frames, and then the curtains coming down like this. Okay, now that stuff was all easy. But now we have here on this side of the room, where did I, oh, here's my drawing. I have here I know that the distance to this bookcase is 2 feet from the back wall. What I want to do is I want to find 2 feet of depth here. Here's how I can do that. I can use this bottom line here as this ground line down here as a horizontal measuring line. And the way I do that is to extend it this way and out this way. Now here's something else I know. I know that we're supposed to be 20 feet from the back wall, 20 feet out this way. And I know the room is only 16 feet deep. That's why I left off the front wall. Normally I would measure down here 20 feet and draw a 45-degree angle line up. But as we know, the two sides of a 45-degree triangle are equal, so I don't need to do that. I can just measure out here at half-inch scale. 10 inches is 20 feet. So measuring from the vanishing point over, here is the measuring point. It's 10 inches, and that equals 20 feet. Okay? Now I need to measure that 2 feet of depth that I talked about right here. See, here's the wall here, and that bookcase. This bookcase here comes 2 feet out from the wall. To measure 2 feet, I can do this. Measure over 1-2 units on the ground line. Using the 2-foot mark here, what I'll do is come from the measuring point through this 2-foot mark like this. See, I'm drawing from the measuring point through here and bringing it forward to here. What I have now is a 45-degree triangle right here, but it's laid down flat, so it's foreshortened. So now what I'm going to do is from that 2-foot mark, I'm going to make, let's get this thing in the right position here. I'm going to make a horizontal line coming out like this. And I know also that this bookcase is 6 more feet. It's a total of 8 feet out to here. So, by the way, I forgot to put the 8 feet here for this flat file. Okay. Now, to get that, I've already got 2 feet here, so I'm going to measure over 6 more feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And using the measuring point again, drawing through that 6-foot mark, it's actually a total of 8 feet from the corner. This gives me a distance of 8 feet. 2 feet plus 6. Now what I'll do is come from that point and make a horizontal line here. And I know that this bookcase is only 1.5 feet wide. Now here's the odd thing here. I'm using this to measure depth, but I'm also going to use it to measure width. That's confusing. But to measure the width of the bookcase, what I do, come out 1 1/2 and draw. If I'm measuring width or height, I come from the vanishing point. If I'm measuring depth, I come from the measuring point. So you see I measured width, I come from the vanishing point. To measure the depth, I came from the measuring point. So now what I've got is the footprint of that bookcase. I also know it's 7 feet tall, so let's put a scale here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 feet. Let's come from the vanishing point and bring that 7 feet down the wall like this. Now, from where that bookcase touches the wall at the floor, at those points I'm going to make vertical lines which will give me the back of that bookcase where it touches the wall. So it's right here, coming up vertically here, and coming up here. I can complete this. I have enough information now to complete this. I can come from these outer corners down here and make vertical lines up like this. And then I can bring horizontal lines out from these back corners here. Gives me that bookcase. All right, then I'm going to connect those two corners together to the vanishing point, giving me the basic box of the bookcase. BBB, basic box of the bookcase. All right. Then, now what I lied a little bit about that bookcase. One thing I didn't tell you was that it's actually 2 3-foot bookcases together. So, you know, once again, remember, by drawing diagonals from corner to corner like this, I can find the halfway point. So if I do this and do this again, I'm finding a crossing that is right in the middle of those bookcases. So if I draw a line through there, I can draw the separation between the two bookcases. Now I know it gets a little confusing with the corner of the room, but that for now, let's let that hold. Let's then go and draw. Let's draw over here. Let's draw the this bookcase over here. Now the problem with this bookcase is if you'll remember, there's a little gap right here to allow for the curtain. I don't know how much that is, so I'm just going to estimate that gap. I'm going to make it about right there. Let's see what that comes out to be. If I were to draw this way, now that's 1 foot. That's just too deep. Let's make it only about half of that. What I'm going to do is take about half of that and draw up here like this. So you give me about a quarter, a little bit more than a quarter of an inch. That's good. All right, what I've done is I picked an arbitrary gap. But in picking that, what I did was I drew a line from that gap up to the measuring point like that. And when I did that, that gives me a position from which I can begin measuring the bookcase. See, I don't want it to measure from the wall. I'm going to measure 8 feet from here out, and I'll do it by measuring it here, by measuring it on this horizontal measuring line, which is the ground line at the back of the room. I'm going to measure 8 feet on there, so starting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now coming from the measuring point forward, I'm measuring 8 feet here. And at this point, then I will draw the near edge of that bookcase. Now, the back edge, as you know, there's a gap, so the back of it is like that. So the near, let's say the near bottom of the bookcase. It's also only 1.5 feet wide, like this one was. So let's go back here and go 1.5 feet at the back wall. And let's project that forward like this. Now I'm measuring width, so I'm using the vanishing point, see? So now there's the footprint of that bookcase. We know then that it sticks out from the wall, from the wall a little bit here. So here then is that where it touches the wall, and my line is a little bit off, sorry about that. Let's line that up just right. Right there is where it touches the wall. Then out here is where it touches the wall over here. Now from this, it's a 7-foot high bookcase, so I draw through the 7-foot mark here. And again, I'm measuring height, so I'm drawing from the vanishing point. Measuring width and height, I draw from the vanishing point. Measuring depth, I draw from the measuring point. Now, what I'm going to do at this point is make horizontal lines, bringing the tops of this bookcase out like this. Then from the lines below, drawing up to the top, I'm finding this 7 by 8 foot by 1 1/2 foot bookcase about like this. Okay, now let's get the top by drawing from the vanishing point to these two corners like this right here. So here it is, and once again I lied to you, it's not an 8 foot. What it is 2 4-foot sections together. So again, I'm going to make diagonals in here and find the middle by making diagonals that go through any rectangle or square. Where they cross will give me the middle of any rectangle or square. Let's get rid of this tape here. Okay, like this. Now this crossing here gives me the middle between these bookcases, which comes to right here. Okay, so I have the two 6-footers here that, the two 3-footers that make 6 feet, the two 4-footers that make 8 feet over here. On the floor, there is a 4 by 8 plywood. Going back to the back wall, the plywood touches the base of this bookcase. So I'm going to go like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, coming forward from the vanishing point because I'm measuring width. I'm coming forward this way. Now I'm going to measure depth, but I'm going to have to use the measuring point to do that. And I don't want to use this measuring point for the bookcase because there's that gap in there. So I'm going to start right here and go 8 feet like this. 2, 4, 6, 8, and come forward from the measuring point to here. This gives me, using this line, and it's important that I come back to the line I started on. This depth here will measure this depth here. So now I'm going to make here the 8 feet of depth. of that plywood on the floor. I'm going to give it just a little bit of visual thickness just to make it look a little bit like plywood maybe. Okay.